think that some of the measurements in 40 times and whatnot get overblown. I think when it comes down to it, you look more for confirmation for what you saw from the player during the season. So, for example, tonight you saw the Alabama linebacker Jihad Campbell run a 4.52, and you saw him play to that speed. So it's concerning if you see a guy with a really fast 40 time, but he doesn't play that fast on the field. You wonder, is this a Mamula kind of combine workout warrior? And then if there's a really good player who doesn't work out well, is it a serious red flag that you really need to do some homework on? Like, for example, Jeff Okudah had a really bad combine. He still went 3 overall and turned into a mega bust for the Lions. So, and they're still, dealing with the repercussions of that pick not panning out because they got to take a cornerback last year in the first round to help make up for that. So these draft mistakes can lead to other problems for rosters years down the road. So the combine is important, but you just don't want to overblow some of these eye-popping 40 times and things like that.
With all that said, obviously we saw the D linemen today. We're finishing up with the linebackers on our TV right now. From who you've talked to and just your own assessment, who do you think has been the biggest risers so far from day one of the combine?
Well, I think, James Pierce, the edge rusher from Tennessee, obviously helped himself with that blistering 40 time. That really helps him because teams have significant character concerns with him. And I reported a couple weeks ago, and speaking with a playoff team assistant GM, he said he anticipated their team dropping him Pierce off their board because of the character concerns, and they run a pretty tight ship at that team. So I think the workout will help him, maybe could give teams a second look and, maybe talk with him more and kind of, really dig in, because that is some serious speed and talent for an edge rusher that, is 6'5", 250 pounds, has improved his strength and run defense over the past year and has room to grow in that regard as well. So great skill set, a lot of potential, and this workout proved it, and it could help him to kind of get a second look and deeper look from NFL teams.
Charlie Campbell, WalterFootball.com, joining us, talking all things draft and combine here on the program. I know it's not running backs and wide receivers yet. We're still a day or two away from that going down. What are you hearing? I mean, obviously we know what we know about Ashton Genty, but what are some other running backs, and what are you hearing about what the Cowboys are thinking about doing at that 12 spot?
This is a great running back draft. So the Cowboys are in a really good position. Obviously, it's a big need. And Genty would be a great pick for them if he gets to 12. But all is not lost if they don't take him at 12, because they could get a really good running back on day 2. The guys like Omarion Hampton from North Carolina, Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson from Ohio State, Caleb Johnson from Iowa, and then other good mid-round guys like Ollie Gordon from Oklahoma State. The Texas Tech back is really nice as well, Taj Brooks. So I definitely think the Cowboys are in a great spot to upgrade that position this year, whether they do it in the first round or not. Genty might not get to that pick, and if it doesn't happen, that's okay. They can add another piece to help their roster and then get a running back on day 2.
Speaking of the Cowboys, Walter Nolan, Daniel Jeremiah mocked Walter Nolan at Ole Miss going 12 to the Cowboys. We saw that he didn't work out today. How much stock do you take into guys maybe like not working out, choosing just to do it at a different time? Do you think that matters? Do you think that drops their stock? Excuse me. We see Abdul Carter with the foot. Obviously, he won't be doing anything. How much of that factors into maybe what the Cowboys are thinking and just in general other teams?
I think it matters to a degree. Teams like to see these guys work out, and if it is, an injury issue that kind of lingers on, it causes some concern in terms of the medical. Are there things going on that players and agents have been known to not be exactly forthcoming with, injuries and this kind of process, trying to conceal that. So it kind of gives teams that pause if they continue to kind of miss workouts. But if it's just missing the combine and then the pro day workout goes off without an issue, and then, they can follow that up with some private workouts with NFL teams and having D-line coaches come in and work him out, or him doing it at the team facilities, it'll end up being okay. So it is something to monitor, but it's definitely a hurdle that he'll want to put behind him by working out at the pro day and in the weeks to come.
Charlie Campbell, WalterFootball.com. What do you think of this linebacker core? I mean, we know the D-tackle defensive line group is pretty deep, and you already mentioned the running backs. Linebackers definitely a position of need for the Cowboys. How do you feel about that group?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I think that it's not bad at all for what the talent is going to be on day two. They could have some nice options there, like Danny Stutzman from Oklahoma, really nice, accomplished player. I think he's very safe to turn into a solid starter. And then there's other nice linebackers kind of sprinkled throughout that day two and mid-round group with the UCLA kid. You got Eugene Asante from Auburn, who just ran a 4.48, so he's a serious seek and destroy speed linebacker. Saw him at Senior Bowl up close. He's put together well for his size. Definitely has lived in the weight room a good amount. That's a nice player. And Barrett Carter from Clemson had a nice career. He's got a lot of speed and coverage ability at linebacker. So they definitely have some nice options that they could come away with a linebacker in the second, third round that ends up helping them.
When you're looking at the Dallas Cowboys specifically, who do you think in these round one and round two, who do you think is influencing their pick the most? Is this going to be a Jerry Jones type pick, a Brian Schottenheimer pick, maybe even a Clayton Adams, an Eberflus kind of leaning offense or defense? Who do you think is going to have the most influence on who they pick? Because like we've mentioned throughout the whole offseason, there's needs everywhere on this Cowboys team.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard to say that Jerry Jones, won't have the ruling voice in the room, and that he'll kind of acquiesce to maybe others who want something else. It's, that's always hard to project. But at the same time, they could develop a consensus within the room with Eberflus and Schottenheimer and, the Joneses and then the scouting side, and really kind of all gravitate towards a certain player in the first round, and they're all on the same page. So that's what makes those April draft meetings just so important, because you really want that kind of consensus on your board. You want the coaches to be excited to work with these players. You want the front office to be not just giving in what the coaches want and passing up on talented players because, maybe an interview didn't get along as well or visit. So that time of the year is just so critical in the draft process, and really is, I think, goes a little under the radar with just how important it is. But of course, teams don't want to broadcast that kind of stuff. But it's very important, and especially important in the Cowboys case, where your owner is more involved than other teams.
Well, Charlie, I asked you what you think the Cowboys staff and front office would do. What would you do if you had control over the Cowboys' first round and second round pick? What does a perfect draft for them look like?
Well, for me, I have them taking Genty in the first round. I think he's one of the best players in the draft. I think he's has some similarities to Josh Jacobs and Marshall Faulk. I think he'd be a plug-and-play difference maker for Dallas. I think the running back position, even though, a lot of people kind of criticize the taking them early, they have a big impact on wins versus losses. You saw that with Saquon Barkley and the Eagles. You see what Jahmyr Gibbs does for the Lions offense. And I think Genty could have that kind of impact for Dallas. So my dream draft for them would be Genty there at 12. And then in the second round, I think you take advantage of this awesome D tackle class.
Okay.
Because it is in need, but you're going to get a player that might be a first-round pick in another year that's going to get to their pick at 44 this year just because there's so many. So you're really upgrading the talent on your roster by hitting that position that has so much talent and depth. So I would say TJ Sanders from South Carolina, big, strong kid that can get upfield in the pass rush. Darius Alexander from Toledo. Omar Norman Watt from Tennessee's got some serious interior pass rush ability. I think putting him as a 3 technique and Eberflus defense would be really interesting. And you got Mazzy as the nose tackle. I think those guys could grow together and really help each other out. So there's a lot of good options there at D tackle. So that would be my dream draft for Dallas.
Well, hell, Eberflus might be listening to you because rumor has it Osa's getting ready to get signed as well. So, and we know how much Eberflus puts stock in those D linemen. Get you out of here with this. We got about 30, 45 seconds. Benjamin Albright came out today and is kind of hinting that it looks like there could be a, quote, giant move to number 1, a.k.a. the Giants making a trade, which wouldn't surprise anybody. We don't – depending upon who you ask, whether you like Cam or Shador, I guess it depends on what flavor of the day it is. What are you hearing, or what would you be surprised by in those first 5 picks?
Well, I do think that the media has, it pretty cut and dry that Cam Ward's the number 1 quarterback. But from talking with team people, it's probably 60-40 where I would say 60% kind of have Cam Ward first and Shador second. So I don't think it's a done deal yet that Shador isn't the first quarterback taken. I don't think it's likely, but I do think it's possible. So that would be one potential surprise that could come up. Probably Cam Ward goes before him, but it isn't a done deal yet. And then otherwise, I wouldn't be surprised if Kenneth Grant, the Michigan D tackle, jumps up there because he is a physical freak, and teams want upside. They want guys with elite talent and skill set and rare ability to go, when they're taking a player that high in the first round. Think of like Trayvon Walker from Georgia. They want those guys that are rare and hard to find. And Kenneth Grant is that with his size, power, speed, pass rush upside that needs to be developed, and he's an elite run defender right now. So don't be surprised if he rises and ends up, having a shot at cracking that top 5.
Charlie, tell the folks at home after that blistering breakdown where they can find you out on the X and socials.
On X, I'm at Draft Campbell, and you can find me on WalterFootball.com. I put out a mock draft every week. It's 3 rounds long now. It'll be 5 rounds probably pretty soon and 7 by draft day. And we've had a lot of success with the most accurate mock drafts in the world on our site over the past 8 years. So definitely come check us out. We got tons of great info and good draft props as well if you're interested in that.
Oh, we're definitely interested in that. Charlie, I'll tell you what, I know it's been a while since we linked up, but I'll tell you what, money in the bank information as always. Enjoy the rest of the week at the Combine. Let's do this again when free agency starts, and that way we'll have a better idea what teams are going to do what.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Thank you, guys. Great to be with you again.